had the conversation and you said you were going on a waiting list. And I said, well, let's talk about it. What does that mean? I mean, I knew what it meant for Larry, but what does that mean for a donor side? And it's easy for me at that moment to say, sure, I'll go and get the education and talk about it, because I had the same knowledge that most people have. The chances of me lining up were next to nil, right? So why not make the offer? It's a good offer, right?
Every day, 18 people will die while awaiting an organ transplant. A fact I hadn't thought about until my father, John, decided to donate his kidney to his close friend, Larry. This is the story of his decision to donate.
We had spent the weekend down to La Push, so we were just having a cup of coffee and a piece of berry pie. So how are you doing? How are you doing physically now? Just kind of dragging all the time. I said, well, they're getting ready to put me back on the waiting list. My kidney's starting to show numbers of failure. So then I asked him, well, what does that mean and what can someone do for you? So that's where the conversation started.
We had a very casual conversation at the beach, and we were having a piece of pie on this really stormy day. I don't know how the conversation started, but he just said, yeah, anybody can give me a kidney, and it doesn't have to be much of a match. Just antigens don't have to match, just blood type, and that's it, And then maybe one or two other things, but it's really not that big a deal. And Johnny said, so anybody can give you a kidney? He goes, yeah, anybody could give me a kidney. Well, really? Well, how come? Well, maybe I could, And we just kind of blew it off. Didn't think much about it, and then we started talking about it a little bit more. And it got kind of exciting. Well, maybe, would you really want to do that? I mean, do you think that you could really do that?
I think you got to remember, in Larry's case, his parents had died. He was an adolescent, both of them of kidney disease. And so this has been weighing on his head his entire life.
Knowing I had PKD and seeing how my mother died from it and my father died from nephritis, which is a generic term for kidney disease, I think my idea of longevity just wasn't there. I think my idea of living was living more for the moment than the long-range planning. I'd never expected to live beyond 50. I certainly did make plans, got married, planned a house, built a house. I had a son, raised a son, but I never was sure of the next day. I'm surprised and pleased that John is so willing to go along with this. John has always kind of amazed me. He's always been fun to be around, and he always does things that are unexpected. In a way, this is yet another amazing, unexpected thing from John.
Living with a spouse that has a chronic illness, you can either be miserable and depressed at the limitations that happen in your relationship, or you learn to appreciate what you have in each day and what that person can give to the relationship at that time. My concern when Johnny first started talking about giving a kidney was to make sure that Val was really comfortable with that this was a decision that Larry and I didn't want to change our friendship in any way.
In April of 2000, my father John lost his best friend Richard to brain cancer. There was nothing anyone could do to save Richard's life.
My friendship with Richard? Richard Rum was an that my relationship was one of those wonderful relationships that sometimes you have in life where we were very balanced in many ways. The things we liked, the things we didn't like, our abilities. We were both self-employed, our ability to take time off. It was just a wonderful relationship. We had a lot of fun together. I miss him a lot. There wasn't anything I could do. Yeah, I'm sure that had an impact on what my thinking was. Here was something that, you know, I can do something about.
He feels he couldn't help Richard, but he can help Larry. There is something physically that he can do to make Larry healthy again, if all goes well. And he didn't have that opportunity with Richard. It's like you're holding a cup of sand in your hand, and you're trying to keep it in your hand, but you can't because it's sliding. It's starting to seep through the cracks in your fingers. Before you know it, all the sand is gone. And that's what it's like when you know somebody's going to die. You don't want them to die, and you do everything in your power to prevent it, and you just can't. It's not meant to be. And that's a real hard realization for people when you love somebody. And so Dad wants to do something to make a difference for Larry. And he says, if I can save somebody's life, wow, that's amazing, isn't it?
I don't regret doing this. I'd love to do it again, but everybody says that's not going to happen. So. This is, on the other hand, is life-changing for not only the recipient, but everybody around him, including me, because now I get to enjoy Larry's company more.
This is Monday night, the night before the surgery, and it's been a really busy day. I feel really positive, really optimistic that they're both going to do well and both live good lives.
There are moments that I have concerns, but again, I still know this is the right thing to do.
Well, it's been a long day, talked to a lot of people. I think I'm beyond tired and bone tired, ready to wake up to a new life with a new kidney.
I look forward to the opportunity of Larry being healthier, and am deeply moved by this tremendous sacrifice that Johnny is making. And I know that tomorrow will be fine. Val and I will take care of each other.
Thought of the morning. In a short time, I'm going to be turning over all control to somebody else. The beginning of this effect came as I was getting dressed, realizing that's all I needed to do. No wallet, no Palm Pilots, phones, watches, whatever else. This is the beginning.
What's the last name? B-A-C-K-U-S.
It's getting real. The hardest part for me was the morning of the surgery and walking in by myself. Making the decision 6 months before was easy comparatively.
I remember that day, and we were sitting there talking, and I would be pretty worked up, but I felt Jenna's calm, and it helped me a lot.
Again, because of dealing with long-term illness, realizing how little choice, how little control we usually have. Yeah, I had some practice in accepting the things that I cannot change.
How you doing, Jen? I love you, Val. I love you too, Jenna. Thank you. Jenna and I were very connected because our two husbands were on operating tables. And that's a different kind of a bond. And we were each waiting for the doctor to come and talk to us. So I think, I don't know what I would have done if Jenna wasn't there. We had each other.
Everything just went fantastic. Come on,
thank you. He's healthy, isn't he?
He's healthy. He had a great kidney. He had great anatomy. It went just like out of a textbook and just as smooth as we'd want it to go. Take a deep breath.
Hi, honey. Hi. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay. Oh, I'm so glad you're okay. With every surgery, there's a risk. That's one of the things they say to you. This is a risk. But I think when I saw Dad back in the room and I realized what he had just done with his body, I think that moment really hit me. But I was so relieved that he was back in the room and he was going to be okay. And Larry did really well, really quickly, which is great.
I feel it's a big story of our transplant is that it proves that the genetic match is no longer important. You don't have to be brother and sister. You don't have to be family. All that's necessary now is a blood match. And that opens up the donor pool tremendously. And I feel that word needs to get out because there's so many people waiting for a transplant. Because I've had a transplant before, I had sort of an idea, but this was so much better than anything I'd imagined. It's the difference between a cadaveric transplant and a live donor. You're transplanted with a kidney that is working, and it just seemed like it got better and better as the months went on.
A doctor can perform surgery and hand out drugs and heal people. But Dad, if Dad's kidney hadn't been healthy, Larry wouldn't be doing so well. It was Easter Sunday and Larry called, and Larry said, "Hi, John and Val, this is Larry and I feel great." Well, I saved that for the longest time because that message made me so happy. We hadn't heard Larry's voice like that in so many years we had forgotten what it meant for him to be healthy. And every time I hear Larry's voice and he's happy and he sounds good and I see him and he's just doing great. And, I mean, we went on a hike. We went on an 8-mile hike last summer. And this guy walked 8 miles. He hadn't walked 8 miles in 16 years. Isn't that remarkable?
It wasn't just the energy to walk. It was the energy to plan, to do things, to get up and smile, not to feel like you didn't have the energy even to get out of bed. I used to look forward to just being able to see Forrest, my son, graduate from high school. I felt that was a lot to be able to see that. And now I'm looking forward to seeing him graduate from college.
It's more of a beginning rather than a closure for me. I have a certain level of expertise now being through the process. And I want to share that and I want to encourage other people to move forward. If nothing else, at least become organ donors on their driver's license, but to show that this is a process that can be done as a living donor relatively easily also. So obviously this is what it's all about, is looking at mortality in the face and saying, here's something, one, that I could do something about for Larry's sake, but it's also for my own sake. To build a building or run a corporation or whatever it is, do your job every day, that's all wonderful. Raise a great family, that's all wonderful and great. And they all have their point and place in life. But I mean, this is a gift that, other than being a doctor who does it every day, this is about as good as it gets. And it's been a great experience. It's nice to have you still here.
It's nice to be here.
For more information, please visit decisiontodonate.com.